All right, good afternoon. Today is June 7th. It is 4 p.m. This is the zoning administrator hearing. You can already tell that there's no members of the public other than the applicants for the one and only project that we have. So this meeting will go fairly quickly. So if members of the public, so moving forward, there is a quorum because the zoning administrator is present. I'm assuming that there is no members of the public on the call that want to make a comment of an item not on the agenda. Correct? No one raises their hand. Okay. So for that, the consent calendar does have the zoning administrator meeting minutes from the May 17th agenda. As a formality, those meeting minutes are approved. As the zoning administrator, I've already reviewed those previously to today's meeting as they were drafted by the department management analyst. So those are so moved. This now jumps into the public hearing. So members of the public, if and when you would like to make a comment for an item that is on the agenda, today, we only have one for a residential development at 1000 Crooked Creek Drive. For that, you will just raise your hand on Zoom, and then the meeting host of the meeting will have you unmute, and then you will provide your testimony. You'll be allowed up to 2 minutes in order to provide that, and then I will consider that as a part of the decision for the project before us today. With that, the public hearing for the SC 2022-001 at 1000 Crooked Creek Drive. Staff, can you provide me with a quick presentation or cover what the project is?
So good evening or good afternoon, Zoning Administrator Zorns. The item before you is a design review application for construction of a new 4,928 square foot two-story house at 1000 Crooked Creek Drive. The new residence features a new eclectic architectural style that combines decorative techniques from different architectural styles. The design incorporates both the ranch style with simple massing, hip-roof architectural features, stripped down details and practical aesthetics, and a contemporary architecture as seen in its use of flat roof elements on the structure and minimalistic details. Exterior details include standing seam metal roof, flat stucco siding, wood verticals, siding, limestone, composite frame windows, and doors. The design guidelines and design review findings recommend minimizing the bulk of the structure. The proposed wall plate heights are 9.5 feet at the first story, 8.5 feet at the second story, are compatible with the scale of the surrounding residence. The second story is recessed within the existing roof form, which reduces the overall perception of bulk. The applicant has improved the fenestration sizes, shapes, and configurations of the two-story entry facade, which has reduced overall bulk. And the applicant has incorporated a flat roof above the entry, which staff does believe visually breaks the verticality of the front entry. The applicant the proposed structure has limited views to the rear due to the downslope nature of the lot and existing mature trees that also exist along the sides and rears. Staff does recommend that the zoning administrator approve the design review application consistent with the listed findings and conditions, and that the ZA find the project categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15303. This concludes staff's presentation. Is there any questions?
So as the zoning administrator, and since the administrative component of this project has already been reviewed and analyzed, I've already seen the majority of this project before it was proposed at this hearing. Do we have any public comments that are on the Zoom call to provide feedback, as I don't have any questions of staff or the applicant?
I'd like to comment, please. Comment, please.
Yep. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. From one design to the next, were there any changes that you can corroborate that changed in terms of the neighborhood compatibility worksheet? In other words, is there anything that changed to carry on perhaps the theme of our community and neighborhood? Could you go over that if there are any?
Okay, do you have
Hello?
any other do you have any other questions or comments? Because staff will answer questions based on the questions that I have from them.
Well, I mean, do you understand what I'm asking is that has there been any change? I'm concerned about the thematic change that this introduces into the neighborhood. And I wanted to know if there's anything that you see as carrying on the flavor, if you will, architecturally of the neighborhood, given that, you know, the design change that, is proposed.
So staff will go over briefly what some of the modifications were from iteration to iteration.
Okay.
So in response to the question, so in the original proposal for the project, the applicant had proposed a very different kind of configuration and scale and proportion of windows along the front entry, on either side of the entry, and then to the left of the garage. Staff was concerned with the overall bulk and scale of this kind of 2-story tall feature, and we had worked with the applicant to address that. Part of the recommendations were to reduce the size of the windows to provide consistency between the window styles, and to also add horizontal elements to break up that verticality. The applicant did make those changes and reduce the amount of stone that was being used on the structure. And staff does believe, at least from the perspective of the front element, which is the primary concern for staff, that the applicant has worked to address that issue.
And then does the applicant or project designer or anybody have anything that they'd like to add?
Hi, I'm Anat Sokol, Sokol Design, presenting the. I'm Anat Sokol from Sokol Design, and I'm presenting the applicant of Friedman family. We've been through a long changes with the planning department. Thank you, Sean, for being patient and professional, but asking all the question and asking to revise the plan many, many times. It's been a year or over a year that we have revised the plan dramatically, just to make sure that the final plan will adjust the neighborhood. I know this is a diverse neighborhood. You can see flat roof houses, you can see contemporary modern houses. This house has a wood siding, limestone and stucco that is covering the entire exterior. This was not the first request of my client. They wanted a very modern house, and they were willing to change it to make sure that the house will be more aligned with the rest of the neighborhood. It's important to say that this is a very large lot, over half an acre, but the buildable area is small because of the creek. And the existing house is sitting almost directly on the original first floor of the house. The only area that we added was the garage. But if you look at the footprint of existing compared to the new, it's the same. We wanted to keep the trees, we wanted to keep the creek, we have to keep the creek. So we were very limited with the buildable area. So I just want to thank Sean for working on this application. Of course, it took us a very long time, but hopefully today we can finish it. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'm gonna close the public hearing. So in general, this project, as notated in the agenda report, does comply substantially with the adopted design guidelines and the Los Altos zoning code. So with that, I am determining that the project is approved. So the design review for the new 4,906 square feet of a two-story single-family residence, and the project is categorically exempt from the environmental review under section 15303, which is the new construction or conversion of small structures pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. So with that, the project is approved. So staff will draft the formal findings and approval letter for you, and then you can submit into construction documents with the building division. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. So with that, that is the first or the first and only project that is under consideration at today's zoning administrator hearing. There are no reports or comments other than staff did an excellent job with this project. I think it looks great. And nothing for future agenda items other than new projects that would be coming forward. The zoning administrator hearing in 2 weeks, though, is canceled for a lack of projects under consideration. With that, the meeting is adjourned at 4:11. Thank you.